The window snap. Before we get into this, I want you to take a second and think about something. Think about every app on your phone right now that shows your username publicly. Your photo app, your fitness tracker, that social platform you signed up for 3 years ago and barely use anymore. Now think about every stranger who can look at that username and find you somewhere else. Because that's exactly how this first story starts. And it ends with a brick through a window. For privacy reasons, I'll be calling the person at the center of this story Ashley. Ashley is a 24-year-old woman living in Chicago, Illinois. She had built up a decent following on a photo-sharing platform, around 5,000 followers, which, if you've ever tried to grow an account, you know is no small thing. It takes time, consistency, and a lot of putting yourself out there. And Ashley did that well. Her content was personal but not overly revealing. She posted lifestyle photos, city shots, the kind of casual aesthetic that resonates with people in their 20s. Now, like a lot of creators at her level, Ashley had her messaging username listed right in her bio on that photo platform. It's a common move. You want your followers to be able to reach you across platforms, so you make it easy for them. The problem, as Ashley would learn, is that easy for followers also means easy for everyone else. Ashley had a boyfriend, Marcus. He never appeared in any of her posts, not once. He had no public profile, no tagged locations, nothing. To the outside world, he was essentially invisible. They'd been together for about 2 years, and he had a first-floor apartment on the north side of Chicago. Ashley would stay there several nights a week. It was their space, their private, quiet little corner of the city. And as far as either of them knew, that address was known only to a small circle of close, trusted friends. At some point, Ashley noticed that her privacy settings on the messaging app had been left wide open. She hadn't intentionally configured it that way. It was just the default, and she'd never thought to change it. This meant that anyone, whether she followed them back or not, could send her direct messages and media. She started receiving messages from strangers fairly regularly, mostly men, mostly guys who followed her on the photo platform and found her messaging handle from her bio. Most of it was harmless, if annoying. The usual, unsolicited compliments, the occasional weird opener, guys sending selfies from poorly lit bedrooms at strange angles. Ashley mostly ignored them. She'd scroll through periodically, check her notifications, and move on. It was background noise at this point. Then, on a Tuesday in late October, everything changed. Ashley had been at Marcus's apartment since the previous night. That afternoon, she'd taken a nap in the bedroom while Marcus sat in the living room watching football. The curtains were partially open, just enough to let in natural light. It was the kind of lazy afternoon that felt completely safe, completely ordinary. Just two people existing quietly in their own space. Several hours later, well into the night, Ashley was going through her messages on the app. She did this every few days, just scanning through the pile of unread notifications from people she didn't follow. Mostly she deleted without opening. But one message, sent early that afternoon, caught her eye. The preview showed it was a photo, not a text. She opened it. The image loaded slowly on her screen. At first, she didn't understand what she was looking at. It was dark, slightly blurry, taken from outside. She zoomed in. Her blood ran cold. It was a photograph taken through the bedroom window of Marcus's apartment. She could see herself, clearly, lying in the bed, asleep, her face visible in the afternoon light. There was no caption, no message, just the image, sent silently like a calling card. Whoever took that photo had been standing directly outside Marcus's first-floor window in the middle of the afternoon. They had stood there long enough to frame the shot, take the photo, and send it. And then they had disappeared, and Ashley hadn't known a thing. She went to wake Marcus immediately. He looked at the photo and his face went pale. He grabbed her phone and tapped reply on the account. When he tried to view the sender's profile, he noticed it had a significant activity score, the kind of number that told you this was not a brand new burner account. This person had been using the platform actively for a while. Marcus typed, "Who is this?" A reply came back almost immediately. "It's John, LOL. Marcus replied, "We're calling the police." The response, "Okay, cool. Let me know if you need help with that." And then the account blocked them. Just like that. Gone. Ashley and Marcus sat in the apartment trying to process what had just happened. They searched through Ashley's follower list for anyone named John. There were several, but with no last name, no profile picture, no identifying information. It was impossible to know which one. They decided to stay the night anyway. Marcus locked every window and door. They tried to sleep. It took a long time. Sometime around 2 a.m., a loud crash jolted them both awake. Marcus ran out of the bedroom into the living room and stopped. The dining room window, a ground-level window facing the side alley, had been shattered from the outside. Glass was everywhere. In the middle of the floor sat a concrete brick, the kind pulled from a construction site or a crumbling wall. There was a house being renovated about half a block down the street. The brick likely came from there. Now it wasn't just a creepy photo. Now it was property destruction. Now it was a direct act of intimidation, or something worse. They called 911. Police responded and took a report. With a formal police report on file, officers were able to begin the process of requesting account information from the platform to identify the sender. The couple was assigned a detective. They were told it could take time. Days turned to weeks. The detective made contact occasionally but had little new information to share. Platforms, as anyone familiar with these cases knows, can be slow to respond to subpoenas and often require specific legal thresholds before they release user data. Eventually, it became clear that the account had either been deleted or had been banned. It no longer appeared in any search. The lead went cold. The case, as of the last update Ashley shared, remains unsolved. What makes this particularly disturbing isn't just the photo or even the brick. It's the implication of what had to happen for that photo to exist. Someone had to be watching Ashley's photo platform consistently enough to find her messaging handle. Then they had to be watching her messaging account consistently enough to know her patterns. And at some point, somehow, they had learned where Marcus lived, which meant they had been following her, physically, through the streets of Chicago. Ashley and Marcus have since moved. They updated all privacy settings across every app and platform. Ashley removed all usernames from her public bios. Marcus installed a security camera system. In the 3 months following the incident, no new contact was made at either residence. But somewhere out there, John still knows what she looks like when she's sleeping. If that doesn't make you want to go check your privacy settings right now, I don't know what will. Because the scariest part of this story isn't the brick. It's how easy it was. A public username and a bio. Default privacy settings. A ground floor window. That's all it took for a stranger to turn a quiet Tuesday afternoon into something Ashley will never fully shake. We're going to come back to something important at the end of today's video, something that connects all 3 of these stories. But right now, I want you to stay with me, because story 2 is going to hit differently. This one has a video, and when you see what's on it, you're going to understand why the guys involved couldn't sleep for weeks. The phone thief on the map. Ryan goes to college at a large state university in Austin, Texas. He's a junior, lives off campus with 4 of his friends in a rented house, about a 10-minute walk from the main strip of bars near downtown. On weekends, the group has a routine that's probably familiar to a lot of college students. They walk to the bars, they hang out, they walk home. Nothing unusual, nothing complicated. The kind of weekend routine that's so normal it becomes automatic. Now, Ryan had his location shared on a popular social mapping feature, the kind that shows your friends a little animated icon of you wherever you are in real time. A lot of college students use it to coordinate meetups, figure out who's already at the bar, that kind of thing. His housemates could all see where he was at any given moment, and he could see them. On the night in question, it was a Saturday in November. The group had gone out together, but at some point during the evening, things split up the way they sometimes do at parties. Ryan ended up heading home on his own around midnight. It was a familiar route. He'd walked it dozens of times, down 2 blocks, left on Cypress, through the quieter residential stretch, then into the neighborhood where they lived. About halfway through that walk, Ryan was on a long residential street. It was quiet. Most houses were dark. The street was lined with old oak trees, and the sidewalk was poorly lit in stretches. He wasn't nervous. He knew this area. He was just walking home. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, just a quick glance, the way anyone does when they hear someone behind them at night. A man was walking about 30 feet back, average height, dark jacket, and he was holding something out in front of him, extended at arm's length, like he was pointing something at Ryan. Ryan couldn't tell what it was. He didn't stare. He didn't want to make it weird or invite confrontation. So he faced forward again and kept walking. But something about it felt off. The way the man was holding the object. The steadiness of his pace. Ryan picked up his speed slightly without being obvious about it. He turned onto his block. He checked once more. The man was gone. Ryan figured he'd turned off somewhere. He let himself in through the front door, kicked off his shoes, and exhaled. Home. A few minutes later, his phone buzzed. A notification. A direct message from his housemate Jake. Jake was supposed to be home. He'd left the bar earlier in the night before Ryan. But here was a message coming from Jake's account. The problem was that Jake had lost his phone that night. Ryan knew this because Jake had texted from a friend's phone earlier to let everyone know. So, if a message was coming from Jake's account, from Jake's phone, that meant someone else had the phone. Someone who had Jake's account still logged in. Ryan didn't open the message immediately. He went downstairs and got the 2 housemates who were home, Chris and Devin. He told them what was going on. Chris pulled out his own phone and hit record on the screen so they'd have a copy of whatever this was. Then they opened the message together. It was a video clip, about 12 seconds long. The video showed a person walking down a street at night. The footage was shaky, taken from behind, like someone following that person and filming them without their knowledge. Ryan recognized the street instantly. He recognized the jacket. He recognized the gate. He was watching himself walk home. The man he'd seen behind him, the one holding something out at arm's length, hadn't been pointing a weapon at him. He'd been holding Jake's phone, filming Ryan on his walk home, and then sending that footage directly to Ryan's account. For a second, nobody spoke. Then Devin said, "Check the map." They pulled up the location feature on Ryan's phone. Jake's little icon, his animated character, was showing a location last updated 9 minutes ago. It wasn't at a bar. It wasn't on a street somewhere across town. It was on top of their house, right on top of it. The GPS pin was planted directly over their address. All 3 of them looked at each other. Then they grabbed flashlights and one of them grabbed a baseball bat from the closet. And they went through every room, every closet, the garage, the back porch. They turned on every outdoor light they had. They checked the side yard, the crawl space under the porch, the detached storage shed out back. Nothing. Nobody there. But as they were doing this, Jake's location icon moved. Just slightly. It shifted maybe 10 or 15 feet on the map, then stabilized again. Still showing their address. Still on top of the house. This meant whoever had the phone was somewhere they hadn't looked. Somewhere nearby. Possibly still on the property. Ryan had the idea. He went to the phone tracking app. Jake had the Find My Phone feature enabled, and he activated the lost mode, which locks the phone and plays an audible sound on a loop. He tapped the button. 3 seconds later, from somewhere inside the house, they heard it. A faint repeating beep. Muffled, like it was behind something, but definitely inside. Then, immediately after, the sound of shoes on hardwood, quick and heavy. A door slamming. The front door. The man ran. All 3 of them sprinted outside. They got to the front porch, looked up and down the street. Nothing. No figure running. No car pulling away. Just the quiet neighborhood, the orange streetlights, the sound of crickets. He was gone. They went back inside and followed the beeping. It led them to the kitchen pantry, a narrow closet off the main hallway where they stored canned goods and cleaning supplies. Jake's phone was sitting on the bottom shelf, still beeping, still locked. The man had been in that closet. For how long, they had no idea. Long enough to put the phone down. Long enough to hear them come through the front door and start searching the house. Long enough to stay completely still and silent while they walked within feet of him in the hallway. How did he get in? The front door had been unlocked. Ryan had just come home and hadn't locked it behind him immediately. One of the windows in the back had a broken latch that they'd been meaning to fix for months. Either one could have been the entry point. Why was he there? Ryan's best theory, and it's as good as any, is that the man somehow knew Jake. Maybe Jake had encountered him earlier that night and the phone had been stolen in a pickpocket situation. Or maybe Jake had lost it and this person found it and decided to do something with it. Maybe he'd been watching Ryan's location on the map, trailing him home, and decided to follow the breadcrumb trail right through the front door. The guys called the police that night. A report was filed. No arrest was ever made. The man was never identified. Jake got his phone back, wiped it, and never heard from the account again. But for weeks after, months really, any one of them would walk past that pantry closet and pause. Because for some portion of that Saturday night, there was a stranger standing in the dark inside their home, holding a stolen phone, watching them leave their lives through the walls. I want to stop here for a second and make sure something lands. These first 2 stories have a common thread, and it's not just the internet is scary or people are weird. The common thread is access. In both cases, a stranger used publicly available information, a username and a bio, a location shared on a map feature, to physically locate someone, to stand outside their window, to follow them home, to hide in their house. The apps themselves aren't evil. The location feature isn't inherently dangerous, but every piece of information you make public is a data point. And when someone connects enough data points, they can find you in the physical world. That's the uncomfortable truth sitting underneath both of these stories. And now we get to story 3. And I have to be upfront with you. This one goes somewhere different. Because the third story isn't just about a stranger with a phone. It's about something that may not have been a person at all. The figure at the door. In 2015, a man I'll call Connor, known online at the time by a username I'll keep private, was living with his girlfriend in Portland, Oregon. They'd recently moved back into his childhood home temporarily while their own place was being renovated. His parents were still living there too. It was a full house, a little chaotic, but comfortable. His parents had 3 parrots, colorful, loud, personality-packed birds that everyone who visited always wanted to see. One evening, his parents had gone out for the night and Connor and his girlfriend were home alone. He decided to film the birds and post the clips to his story on a popular multimedia messaging app, the kind where content disappears after a set time. People had always asked about the birds whenever he mentioned them, so it felt like a natural thing to share. He filmed 3 short clips. In the first, he showed a gray cockatiel perched on a wooden stand. In the second, a vivid rainbow-colored bird, green, yellow, red, who kept tilting his head sideways at the camera like he was posing for a school photo. In the third clip, Connor walked into the living room and filmed the third bird up close, turning the phone slightly to capture the room. He posted all 3 and put his phone down, went back to his computer, was playing games with some friends online. Normal evening. About 15 minutes later, one of his friends sent him a text, just a casual message about something else. And at the very end, "Hey, random question, but what was that in the window behind you in that last clip?" Connor stared at the message for a moment. Then he picked up his phone and rewatched the third clip. He watched it through once. Didn't see anything unusual. Watched it again, more slowly. Then he switched to his laptop to get a better view on a larger screen. He scrubbed back through the third clip frame by frame. In the background of the shot, for a fraction of a second, there is something at the back door of the house. The door is a sliding glass door that leads to the backyard. It's half open, with a screen door behind it, and in that brief moment when the back door comes into frame, before it slides back out of shot, there appears to be a shape, a dark figure, standing just outside the screen door, with its hands pressed flat against the glass, cupped around its face, like someone looking in. Connor rewound to the first clip. The same back door is visible in that one too, fully in frame for a longer stretch. Nothing there. Completely clear. No figure, no shape. Just the backyard through the screen. Something, or someone, had moved into that doorway in the approximately 90 seconds between the first clip and the third. Connor sat with that for a while. The first thing he told himself was that it was a reflection. But that didn't work. The screen door was half open. There was no glass surface positioned in a way that would create that kind of reflection. The figure wasn't on the inside of the room. It was outside, visible through the screen itself. The second thing he told himself was that it was a trick of the light. But the shape was too defined. When he zoomed in, and he zoomed in as far as the resolution allowed, it looked like a person, a dark silhouette. Hands pressed against the door, head leaning forward, like someone trying to see inside without being seen. And here's where this story becomes something more than a creepy clip. Connor was home alone. His girlfriend had gone to a friend's house that evening. His parents were out. He was the only one there, and the only way to access the backyard was through a side gate on the left side of the house, a gate that he himself had locked earlier that day. He thought about calling the police. He hesitated. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe he was letting his imagination run. He pulled up the post on his phone and watched it one more time. And that's when his stomach dropped all the way through the floor, because now that he was looking for it, he could see it clearly, standing right there, right at the door, looking in at him. Now, Connor has a history that makes this moment carry an extra weight. When he was about 10 years old, he began experiencing sleep paralysis. For those who haven't gone through it, sleep paralysis is a neurological condition where your mind wakes up but your body is still in sleep mode. You can't move, you can't speak, and the brain, still half dreaming, often generates hallucinations. For Connor, those episodes were severe. He would sometimes feel unable to breathe. He became afraid to fall asleep. As he moved into his mid-teens, the sleep paralysis intensified and started to come with a recurring vision. Always the same one. A faceless figure standing at his bedroom window, hands cupped against the glass, head pressed forward, looking in at him. He moved out of that house at 18, and when he did, the sleep paralysis stopped entirely. He never had another episode. Not once, not in 7 years. Until the night he moved back in. He stayed up for a while after re-watching the clips. He kept all the lights on inside. He didn't go near the back door. He eventually went back to his computer and kept playing with his friends online, headset on, trying to feel normal. He didn't tell them what he'd seen. He just kept playing. Sometime around 10:15 p.m., he heard it. A bang. Then another, rhythmic and heavy, coming from the direction of the back porch, loud enough to cut through his headset mid-conversation. His friends on the call went quiet. They could hear it too. He pulled off his headset and grabbed his phone. He started recording. The sounds were coming from the screen door, the same one from the clip. A series of hard, deliberate bangs. Not like wind, not like a loose shutter. Something was hitting it repeatedly from outside. Connor didn't go straight to the back door. He thought about it for a moment, and then he thought better of it. Instead, he walked through the kitchen into the laundry room, where a switch controlled the outdoor lights for the backyard. He flipped it on, flooded the yard with light. Then he moved to the window on the far side of the laundry room, the one that faces the side gate, the only exit point from the backyard. If someone was back there and the lights came on, they'd have to go through that gate to get out. He positioned himself at the window and waited. Nothing came through the gate. And then, from the opposite side of the house entirely, from a direction that made no sense given where he was standing, there was an enormous crash. He spun and aimed his phone camera at the nearest window. He could see his own reflection in the glass. He couldn't see anything outside. A few seconds passed. He turned on the kitchen light. More seconds passed. Then he stopped recording. You can hear him on the footage, voice barely steady. What the hell, man? He kept every light in the house on until his parents came home. He didn't go outside. He didn't open any doors. He sat in the middle of the kitchen with his back to the wall. Later that night, he uploaded the footage to an online forum and asked people to help him look at it. The community responded immediately. Someone with video enhancement software took the third bird clip and processed it frame by frame. In the enhanced version of the footage, something becomes visible in the corner of the dining room, an area that had appeared to be a shadow or clutter in the original video. The more the footage is enhanced, the more the shape in that corner begins to look like a person. A large, dark, hunched shape, right there in the room with him. And the shape is not visible at the end of the video. Whatever it was, it moved. The forum exploded. When law enforcement reviewed the footage, their working theory was this. 2 individuals had been attempting to burglarize the home while Connor's parents were away. When the first person realized Connor was still inside, the second person began making noise at the back door as a distraction, trying to lure Connor outside or toward one specific area, so the first person could slip out undetected. When that didn't work, The first person made a break for it. It's a reasonable theory. Coordinated burglary attempts do happen, and they sometimes involve exactly this kind of distraction technique. But Connor has never been fully satisfied with it. Because when his parents came home and they all walked through the house together, checking every room and entry point, everything was locked. All the windows, all the doors, from the inside. If someone had broken in and broken out, how? The gate to the backyard had been locked all evening. The screen door didn't show signs of forced entry. Nothing was missing from the house. There was no broken glass, no pried window frame, no scuff marks on the gate. Just the sounds. The shape in the clip, the figure at the door, and the thing in the corner of the dining room that wasn't there. At the end of the video, Connor moved out of that house again as soon as his own place was ready. He has not gone back since. His parents still live there. They have never had an incident since that night. The parrots are fine. And the footage still exists online, still gets pulled up by people doing exactly what you're doing right now. Sitting somewhere familiar, watching something that makes their own home feel slightly less safe. That's the thing about all three of these stories. They didn't happen in remote locations. They didn't happen to careless or reckless people. They happened in apartments and college houses and family homes in regular American cities. They happened because of apps and default settings and unlocked doors and a general assumption that we're safe in our own spaces. Ashley changed her privacy settings. Ryan and his housemates turned off location sharing. Connor doesn't stay in that house anymore. Small changes. But if any of them had made those changes a little sooner, maybe these stories would never have been told. I'll leave you with that. Lock your doors tonight. Check your settings. And maybe don't look at the window behind you when you're watching something alone in the dark. See you in the next one.